All the physicians who insisted I modify my eating habits have passed away. Not one remains. Back in 1978, a physician instructed me to eliminate olive oil from my cooking because of its high fat content. His life ended in 1991 from cardiac arrest. Another medical professional I saw in 1985 recommended margarine over butter, claiming it was the superior choice for health. He also succumbed to cardiac arrest in 2003. A dietary specialist I consulted in 1992 advised reducing salt intake and consuming more packaged, low-sodium processed products. She too has departed this world. The cause escapes me, but she is gone while I remain, preparing my own meals, making my way to the grocery store, continuing to occupy my kitchen daily, creating dishes entirely from raw ingredients, just as my mother demonstrated and her mother before her. I intend to share precisely what sustains me, because the majority of you are destroying yourselves with your dietary choices without any awareness. My arrival in this nation occurred in 1947 when I was 23. Calabria was my homeland, Italy's most impoverished region. The area nobody references when Italian cuisine enters conversation. Financial resources were absent. Upscale dining establishments did not exist for us. Our sustenance came from our own cultivation and the preparations our mothers passed down. Those preparations sustained my grandparents past 90, allowed my mother to reach 94, and have preserved my life beyond anyone's expectations in my family. Within a nation whose food industry has made persistent attempts to compromise my well-being. Observing American eating patterns breaks my heart. Young individuals consume substances that barely qualify as nourishment, items packaged in containers with unpronounceable ingredient lists. They ingest chemical concoctions marketed as diet beverages. Their bread could withstand apocalyptic conditions due to excessive preservation additives. These are not nutrients. These represent toxins masquerading as expedients. These identical individuals then question their constant exhaustion, their perpetual illness, their premature aging at 40. Let me outline 10 nutritional items for you. These items have sustained my existence, not pharmaceutical products, not dietary supplements, not whatever scam they broadcast on late-night television. Genuine sustenance, the variety my mother provided me, the variety I provided my offspring and their offspring, the variety humanity consumed for millennia before commercial enterprises decided greater profits lay in peddling refuse. Number 1 is olive oil, authentic olive oil, extra virgin, cold extracted, the variety with a verdant, sharp flavor that creates a slight burning sensation in your throat. Not that transparent golden liquid sold at supermarkets for $4. That represents commercial deception in packaging. Authentic olive oil forms the base of my entire culinary practice. Daily usage without exception. I apply it to bread. My vegetables cook in it. Soup receives a drizzle before consumption. My mother described olive oil as golden in liquid form. Her assessment was accurate. It maintains clean circulation. It preserves cognitive function. There exists a valid explanation why the world's longest living populations originate from regions where olive oil pervades everything. Research indicates those consuming the greatest olive oil quantities live nearly a decade longer than those who abstain a full decade. That holds significant value. That represents 10 additional years observing your grandchildren's development. The second item is legumes of all varieties. Cannellini beans, turtle beans, lentils, garbanzo beans. Legumes appear in my daily diet, whether in broths, mixed greens, or pureed with garlic and olive oil. My mother prepared pasta e fagioli weekly. Pasta combined with beans, sustenance of the economically disadvantaged peasant nourishment, the diet of those unable to purchase meat. The outcome? Those peasants survived longer than affluent individuals consuming steak nightly. Legumes provide protein, they contain fiber, they satisfy hunger without inducing sickness. Every global location where people surpass 100 years includes daily bean consumption. Researchers label these locations blue zones. I identify them as places where proper eating knowledge remains intact. The third item is dark leafy vegetables, not iceberg lettuce, which offers nothing. That merely represents moisture configured as produce. I reference substantial greens, spinach, kale, escarole, broccoli rabe, Swiss chard. During my childhood in Italy, we harvested wild greens from the slopes. Dandelion leaves. We would prepare them in olive oil with garlic and crushed pepper flakes. Contemporary society considers dandelions nuisance plants. We regarded them as therapeutic remedies because that precisely describes them. Greens purify your circulation. They maintain skeletal strength. They preserve mental acuity. My daily intake includes greens without fail. If fried potatoes constitute your sole vegetable intake, you are not consuming vegetables. The fourth item is garlic. Nearly everything I prepare contains garlic, fresh garlic, oven-roasted garlic, garlic cooked in olive oil until golden colored. My husband Giuseppe would jest that I was attempting vampire prevention. Perhaps I was. Perhaps the vampires represent all the ailments that pursue you during aging. Cardiovascular disease, malignancies, cognitive decline. Garlic provides protection against them. Scientists now acknowledge what my grandmother understood a century prior. Garlic contains compounds combating infections, reducing blood pressure, safeguarding cardiovascular health. A single garlic clove contains more therapeutic value than most medications, with superior flavor. The fifth item is tomatoes, specifically cooked preparation, not raw consumption. Cooking tomatoes, particularly in olive oil, liberates a substance called lycopene. That term was unknown to me until my grandson explained it. Yet I understood its reality long before comprehending the science. Cooked tomatoes feature prominently throughout Italian cuisine. My sauce, my broths, my casseroles. I create a straightforward dish of eggs simmered in tomato sauce that my children constantly requested. Tomatoes protect cardiovascular systems. They safeguard vision. They offer protection against specific cancers. Their cost approaches nothing. Quality canned Italian tomatoes cost approximately $2. No justification exists for avoidance. The sixth item is nuts. Daily, I consume a small portion of nuts, predominantly almonds, occasionally walnuts. My mother maintained a nut bowl on the table where we cracked them personally, not the roasted, salted varieties sold in stores covered with chemicals, raw nuts, or minimally toasted. Nuts contain fats, certainly, beneficial fats, the variety your brain requires for proper function. Research demonstrates that daily nut consumers live 2 to 3 years beyond those who abstain. 2 to 3 additional years from consuming a handful of almonds. What reason exists for refusal? The seventh item is unrefined grains, genuine bread, pasta created from authentic flour, not the bleached processed white substance now sold everywhere. Upon my arrival in this nation, bread possessed different flavor characteristics. Then modifications occurred to extend shelf duration. They extracted everything beneficial, leaving only waste material. Sometimes I still bake my own bread, whole wheat, sometimes sourdough, the bread my mother created. Genuine bread provides lasting satiation. It supplies sustained energy. Blood sugar does not spike and subsequently crash an hour afterward. I have observed this nation's addiction to artificial bread while simultaneously questioning widespread diabetes. The eighth item is fish. My weekly fish consumption occurs 2 or 3 times, primarily smaller varieties, sardines, anchovies, mackerel, the fish nobody desires because they contain bones and possess strong aromas. Those represent the superior fish varieties, fish abundant with oils that maintain brain function. My husband Giuseppe loved sardines. We consumed them on crusty bread with minimal lemon and olive oil. Uncomplicated, flawless. Quality fish has become difficult to locate in this nation currently. Commercial farming in tanks with inferior feed. When wild-caught fish becomes available, consume it. Your brain will express gratitude during your elder years when memory remains intact. The ninth item is wine, red wine specifically, 1 glass accompanying dinner, not an entire bottle, a single glass. A glass of red wine has accompanied my dinner nearly every evening throughout my adult existence. Medical professionals previously instructed me to discontinue. Now they acknowledge it was the correct approach consistently. Red wine contains a substance protecting cardiovascular systems and blood vessels, but only with moderate consumption. Excessive consumption produces opposite effects. This represents the American problem. Moderation remains incomprehensible. Everything exists as excess or complete abstinence. 1 glass of wine with your meal, nothing more. That suffices. The 10th item is fresh fruit. My daily fruit consumption includes an orange, some berries, a pear, figs during their season. Fruit provides sweetness, though not identical to candy or pastry sweetness. The sweetness accompanies fiber and vitamins and water. It provides satiation. It satisfies sweet cravings without introducing toxins. When my children were young, fruit served as their dessert. They remained unaware of alternatives because I withheld that information. They have all reached their 60s and 70s now, those still living, and fruit desserts continue. This demonstrates proper child nutrition education. You do not offer choices between apples and cookies. You provide the apple. There you have it, olive oil, legumes, dark leafy greens, garlic, tomatoes, nuts, unrefined grains, fish, wine, fruit. 10 nutritional items, nothing complex, nothing costly, nothing requiring subscriptions or special deliveries or $300 machines, simply genuine food. The variety humanity has consumed for thousands of years. The variety my mother and her mother and her mother consumed. However, something else requires mention because nutrition represents only partial explanation. I have witnessed people eating perfectly, yet dying prematurely because misery consumed them. I have witnessed people eating terribly, yet living extensively because purpose drove them. Nutrition matters, but it does not encompass everything. Physical movement remains essential. Walking characterized my entire existence. Gymnasium membership never occurred. Walking to markets, walking to religious services, climbing apartment stairs because elevator malfunctions occurred constantly, standing in my kitchen cooking for extended periods. This does not constitute exercise by conventional definition, but it represents movement, continuous movement daily. My daughter Rosa succumbed to breast cancer in 2004 at 58. My son Carlo died from colon cancer in 2012 at 62. My son Marco perished in an automobile accident in 2019 at 68. 3 funeral services where maternal grief positioned me at grave sites. Each one threatened to destroy me. None succeeded. Cooking continued, eating continued, walking to markets continued, not from desire, but from necessity. That represents your only option. Continuation. No alternatives exist. My age is 101 years. This kitchen has been my culinary domain for over 50 years, exceeding most of your lifespans. My arrival in this nation included nothing beyond 2 suitcases and my mother's recipes. 5 children received upbringing in a 2-bedroom apartment. My husband's death occurred 26 years prior. 14 grandchildren and 21 great-grandchildren exist. Independent living continues. Meal preparation continues. Daily market walks continue, despite knee pain reaching screaming intensity, because cessation equals death, and death readiness has not arrived. I share all this because understanding something remains crucial. Longevity does not concern death avoidance. It concerns living, genuinely living daily, consuming food providing both flavor and nutritional value, moving your body because movement feels natural, spending time with people because human connection provides life's meaning, having purposeful activities that hold personal significance. Your body was not designed for 8-hour chair sessions followed by 4 additional couch hours. Your body was designed for movement. Unused capacity becomes lost capacity. I observe people half my age incapable of crossing rooms because movement ceased 20 years earlier. That will not describe me. Human connection remains essential. Family exists in my life. Religious community exists. Neighbors conduct wellness checks despite my assurances of being fine. Human beings were not designed for isolation. I have witnessed people retire and perish within 2 years because conversation, partners, and activities disappeared. Loneliness proves fatal. I do not mean romantic partnerships are essential. I mean people knowing your name, caring about your morning awakening, noticing your absence prove essential. Without that, discovery becomes necessary. Organizational membership, volunteer service somewhere, neighbor conversations. This transcends optional status. This concerns survival. Awakening purpose remains essential. For me, it is cooking. It is feeding people. It is witnessing my great-grandchildren consuming identical pasta my grandmother taught me to create. Morning awakening occurs because purposeful activities await. The day cooking becomes impossible probably marks my death, and acceptance exists regarding that. However, that day is not today, was not yesterday, and will not be tomorrow if influence remains within my control. 3 of my children have been buried. That scenario should not occur. Children should not predecease parents, yet it happened. The food described will provide assistance. Guarantees do not exist. Nothing is guaranteed. My son Carlo maintained excellent eating habits his entire life, yet cancer developed. My husband Giuseppe consumed everything I prepared, yet suffered a stroke at 82. But quality living characterized their existence until it did not. And that represents the only hope available to anyone, living well until inability arrives, eating well, loving well, moving well, and then when departure time comes, hundreds of people have received nourishment at this table, children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren and neighbors and strangers. Cooking has occurred for funerals and weddings and christenings and ordinary Tuesday evenings when someone required a meal. This represents my earthly purpose, feeding people, sustaining their lives. Now feeding you is attempted despite screen separation. Despite probable never meeting you, I am attempting to transfer what my mother transferred to me and what her mother transferred to her, the knowledge of eating for living purposes, not merely existing, living, genuinely living. Acceptance or rejection remains your choice, but claiming ignorance becomes impossible because notification just occurred. Now, excuse me, soup requires attention on the stove.